Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Mark Dirks, and on behalf of ACRL and Choice, I'd like to welcome you to today's program, Put Those Databases to Work, Strategies to Get Materials Flying Off Virtual Shelves, which is sponsored by Infobase. Today's discussion is one in a series of sponsored webinars from ACRL and Choice that addresses new ideas, developments, and products of interest to the academic library community. Free to users, these structured 60-minute live presentations provide the opportunity for interactive discussions of important new issues and developments in academic librarianship by librarians, vendors, authors, and other interested stakeholders. Before we get started, I'd like to point out just a few features of the webinar software. In the main area of the screen, you should be able to follow along with the presentation materials. Along the right-hand side, you should see a Q&A panel and a chat panel. If those are collapsed, you can use the little arrows beside each of those names to expand or collapse the panels as you see fit. Please use the chat panel to address any technical issues you may be having to me. We'll troubleshoot those issues if you're having them privately. In the Q&A panel is where you can ask questions of our speakers today. If you have questions, drop them in as they come to you, and at the end, we will take a little time to respond to as many questions as we have time for. Also today, we are using the hashtag ACRL Choice Webinars, so if you've got another screen handy, shout out to us. We're at choice_reviews on Twitter. All right, that's just about enough from me. It is my pleasure to turn things over to Brandy Burbante. She is the Head of Technical Services, Cataloging Librarian at the Ellender Memorial Library at Nicholls State University. So without any further ado, Brandy, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Great. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I thank you all so much for taking your time out of your busy day to come and check us out on this webinar, and I hope that I can leave everyone learning something new or thinking about something new, or even maybe you have something to share with me. This is just a little background on myself. I've worn many hats in my short career so far. I started out as a secondary English ELA teacher after receiving my bachelor's degree. Started college a little late with my husband being in the military, so I took some time off to live with him and got my teaching degree. However, quickly realized that the public school classroom atmosphere was not for me. Hats off to all of our teachers out there, because it does take a special kind of person to be able to do that. Fortunately, I landed a job here in Thibodaux, Louisiana at the Ellender Memorial Library. It was a civil service state job, so it was just the staff level, but that inspired me to go pursue my master's in library and information science. So I was able to do that all online through Louisiana State University while I was working full-time. Whenever I finished that degree, I ended up with a different job since there was not a professional librarian job available at that time. And that took me to try teaching at the university level. And I really enjoyed it. And so the professional academic advisor and instructor job was our freshman seminar course here at Nicholls. And I didn't leave that job because I hated it. I left the job because a librarian position opened, and I felt that this was my chance to take everything I've learned from being a university prep instructor, that freshman seminar course, and bring it over to the library as a research and instruction librarian. And I was also given the job title and designation as our outreach coordinator. This was one of the first times that the library that I know of had a single person tasked out with that job. When I worked here previously as the library specialist, I remember it was a group effort among librarians to promote the library and do outreach. However, when I joined the library crew back here in 2018, I was one of the only librarians. We had some turnover, so it was a lot of research on my part about the job. They didn't really teach me how to be an outreach coordinator for a library in library school, so that's what I was doing, and learned a lot through just looking to see what was out there and what was available, and I'm going to get to that a little later. I started as a library specialist in the cataloging department, so when the position became available for me to become the head of that department, I decided to try for that. And so I'm here currently doing that, but I still have my hands in the pocket of the outreach coordinator, and we've created a team with the new outreach coordinator, and I'm still pursuing that knowledge and to continue to learn more about doing outreach for the library and constantly learning how to engage with our faculty, and that's something I'm going to talk with you about today. So just a little about Nicholls, so that you can just kind of get a little familiar, get some context here. We are very South Louisiana, south of New Orleans, and this is our student population as of the fall 2019 statistics that I was given. We have a Nicholls Online, which is like a school within a school, where we offer degrees with completely online courses. When I started here in the librarian role and doing outreach, I took a little self-assessment of our library to see who were we reaching out to. Was there a demographic that maybe we were missing out on? And the Nicholls Online and all of our traditional students who are taking online classes really stuck out to me. And so I really built a mission for myself to figure out some ways to reach out to our online population. We have 5 librarians here, and then also our director and our archivist, and we each are given different liaison departments. When I was the research and instruction librarian, I had our English composition courses, languages and literature, and our College of Business, but in our interdisciplinary studies, which is that freshman seminars course. But when the new research and instruction librarian came on board, he took over those. So now my subject liaison areas decreased by a lot because I have a lot of cataloging duties, but I still try to be an active member of our outreach committee. And I'm still here partnering with our current outreach coordinator. We created a social media team now that we have more librarians here. So there are 3 of us and 2 GAs that we currently, well, just actually last semester when the university had to go virtual due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we got our 2 GAs involved with helping us with our social media. So today, some of the objectives that I hope that you can leave with is just the importance of recognizing the need of your population at your universities, the audience that your library should be reaching out to, finding a solution to your needs, and then how you can show value. We're always trying to show how everyone, you know, there's a value to the library, and here's how you can use this. This is our job. We're here to help you. Our mission is to serve the university's mission, our students, our faculty, and that's what we're here for. So I've really took it upon myself to learn as much as I can, and I'm just going to present to you today some ways that I've done some of our outreach that has been successful. And part of that is finding some new products that I wanted to bring to the library that we didn't have. So I had to do a lot of advertising myself and the products to our administration to get that buy-in. And then once you are able to get your services and evaluate your services, you have to promote it and promote it and promote it. And that's some things that I'm going to talk about today. So I'm just curious, this is a little poll out to all of you out there. Do you have a person tasked with outreach for your library? I know not all libraries have that. I feel like this is a new trend up and coming with the libraries, and it's becoming more and more important, especially with the academic libraries. This is me. This is a picture of us at one of our events that I'm really going to miss if we can't do it in the fall. All the way on the left there, holding part of that sign. This is one of our big outreach events called Welcome Back Day. Just looking at the poll. Not sure if I'm able to see the results of that. I was told it could seem like awkward silence when I was waiting for that poll. There we go. So yeah, very, very interesting. It's almost very even. And that's something that maybe you could bring to your library if you don't already have someone. It was a lot easier having someone to kind of just take lead, but creating a team has been so helpful. So if you don't have an outreach coordinator, I would suggest reaching out to your library director, or if you are a library director, consider that, or creating a committee within your library that is designated for outreach and have a chair of that outreach committee. The next poll I have for you, so I can get to know you a little bit better, is do you have a 4-credit library course at your institution? We don't at Nicholls. We have a librarian here that came from an institution and that had an information literacy course. And so I go to him sometimes to get some advice and figure out some things that he's taught for information literacy. But we don't have a course currently. As much as I and some other librarians think that it's necessary, it does take a lot for a university to create a new course. So I have a plan. I'm working it out with another librarian to do some workshops, and hopefully we can prove that value of those workshops and try to get the library embedded into a lot more courses than it already is. The library is no longer involved in our freshman seminar course. They don't have a library day. Our library doesn't take part in tours for orientation. I've been told that if a family or a potential student asks to come to the library, they'll bring them, but it's not built into the tour. So we have some work cut out for us of getting that information literacy in the library days. Reaching out to more students than what we're currently doing. So I always get curious when I get a chance to speak with other librarians if they have a library course or an information literacy course, something that is at your university where students have to take it. So the majority are like me. No, don't have a 4-credit library course at your institution. I hope in the long run that our institution can see the importance of it. The plan that I have in mind, and I've spoken with another librarian about this, is to possibly get us embedded into an English composition lab to where maybe it's an hour a week that the students are exposed to information literacy or library research, or exposed to the librarians as part of their lab for their first year writing course. So that's something to think about. That's a little plan that I have. Next thing I'm going to get into is the awareness of library resources and and services. And this was something that we should always be doing, is learning our collection, learning our services, evaluating our services, just being aware of them so that we can then share that with our faculty and our students. Whenever there's an opportunity to speak with faculty about the library or to show off a resource or a service, I try to take it. I try to always think about what could the library do to help them if I attend a faculty workshop or a lecture, or if we're even at a non-academic event and I'm speaking with someone that I know is on the teaching faculty at Nicholls. If they're talking about something, I try to think, okay, do we have something at the library that can help with that? Or even I've noticed on social media, my personal social media, of people talking about different resources or a book or a service, and then it makes me think, do we have that at the library? So always just being aware yourself, and then trying to get your faculty and your students aware of those things as well. So some things that we do here is that I try to get us involved as much as possible, being aware of the events on campus, because if you're at a, if you're in an academic library, your institution very likely has its own outreach events, and so can your library be a part of that? Is there a way for that? So they have a sort of what do they call it at our orientation, where the students and families can kind of walk around and learn about different student organizations and departments. So the Kernel experience, that's what we call it here. So I got the library involved in that, so we're notified whenever they have orientations, and if we're wanting to put up a table, that's what this picture is of me and a coworker at one of the orientations to give out information. It was a lot of parents that stopped by, but whoever's going to listen to me, I'll talk to them about it, whether it's the student or the parent or the faculty member. I just through word of mouth have noticed that we have some faculty on campus and some students, a lot of people that just are not aware of what we have. The library has that. People have asked me that if they see me in our student union common area at a table with some information, and they're like, oh, I had no idea that the library had that. Our 3D printer and some test prep books, those are very common that I hear, oh, I didn't even realize the library had that. Or faculty feel like they're bothering me, or you may get that too. Faculty don't want to bother you with things. So just getting them to understand this is part of what we do. This is part of my mission, is to help you, help your students. So yes, I can do these things. And just every beginning of the semester, we reach out, and then we try to follow up with that. We keep up with our faculty throughout the semester to let them know this is what I can do for you. This is how we can help. So even one quick story about one of our faculty is we have some great faculty that are library advocates, and will ask us in to do one-shot instruction, library instruction here and there. And one of them wanted me, he was a new English faculty, asked if I could give a quick tour that he had booked one of our computer labs so that he can show them the library databases, but then he wanted to bring them to the library if I could give them a tour. And so I said, I can do the whole thing. I can show them the databases, and we can do all of this within the library. And so I gave the database instruction, I gave the one-shot instruction and the tour. And it's just something to, show the faculty that we can do all of this stuff. You're not alone. We have the means to help you out. So with that being said, finding out what your faculty needs, that can be tricky sometimes, especially if you may send those initial emails out beginning of the semester and then it's just crickets. You don't hear anything from anyone. And that could be very discouraging. It's happened to me with some departments where it feels like no one needs my help. No one needs the library. But then you know that's not true. They do need us. So I found it easier for me to pinpoint and target my outreach based on what the faculty need. So I do send a blanket email, to contact all the faculty that's in my liaison area. But then I also will target some of my faculty outreach with specific resources for a specific assignment. My background as that freshman studies instructor really helped me with that with our university studies teachers because I know their curriculum. So as much as you can, try to find out what's being taught in the classes and then taking a look at your library services and resources and matching it up for the faculty. It kind of, saving time, that's what the faculty need. I've gotten a lot of feedback before of there's just not time for a library day. Like the class calendar is full of content that I need to cover to meet learning objectives. And this is something that I faced when I was teaching the freshman seminar course, is that when the curriculum changed while I was teaching it, we went from 2 library days to 0 library days in a freshman seminar course because we see the students for an hour a week and we would have 8 sections of things to teach, and it became to where I did not have time for the library, as sad as that seems. Since I had my own library experience, I fitted into my course as I could by relating the library to the course content. So the students needed to do some research to write a reflection about the career that they were pursuing. I would show them how to do that through library databases. Finding out what the instructors are doing and matching it to your services and presenting that to them could be a little less overwhelming than, here's the library, we have all of these things, reach out to us when you need it. So making things easy to implement. Some people may not agree, but I found that to be the best way if you want your resources to get used, is targeting that. And I give specifics when asked, and I give specifics about things when I really get a sense of the curriculum and I know that a resource can go with a specific assignment. Other times I may give that blanket, hey, we have these databases that you can get scholarly sources. Other times I will say, hey, we have this database called, and insert name of database, that your students could use for their argumentative speech. Or you can get, as more specific you can get, the better. That's what I found that's helped me out. Being aware of your departments, if you're tasked out with certain departments, when are they meeting? Does the department as a whole, do they get together and choose a curriculum? Or can you find faculty advocates that could be your partner and advocate in the library? And then, old-fashioned outreach, make flyers. This is just an image of one that I threw together, that anytime I can be around faculty, I try to hand it out to them. I've done a few workshops where I bring these flyers and give out to faculty. I made them yellow so that it's, less likely they would lose it that way. Let's see, I have another one here. Continuing on ways that I've done faculty outreach, keeping it easy and visual. Those 2 things stick out when I think back to how I've reached out to faculty and also when I was teaching faculty. you get a lot of emails. Well, as librarians, we get a lot of emails. The ones that stick out are the ones that are easy to read and visual. So something that I do is I'll take a screenshot of something and send direct links. One of these images is just an email to the faculty where I got one of those emails from a vendor. This is from CQ Press, CQ Researcher, of some things, and I was like, this is pretty useful. And so I know of some assignments, and so I sent it to a couple of faculty with a screenshot from the main email, because then they didn't have to scroll down to try to find the information. I took what I thought to be the most important and stuck it up at the top of the email. The other image here is just a little snippet of a handout I made, and I met with our University 101, that's our freshman seminar. I met with the instructors in a face-to-face meeting, not last semester, of course, but one semester, and so I made a handout. And then when I got back to my office, I emailed them all the handouts that had direct links to the resources I was discussing, and just trying to make it easy for them to save and to get back to. And I gave them little bullet points of how they could use a particular resource in their class. I am sorry, I'm losing my way to get through this thing. So that was a lot of the faculty outreach that I've done. The next portion of this webinar is to discuss library instruction for distance learning. So once you have all these strategies to reach out to your faculty, especially now after, in the wake of the pandemic and when everyone had to go virtual, this was something I was already thinking that we were lacking, is reaching out to our distance learning students. So this next portion will be ways that some ideas for reaching out, specifically targeting distance learning. So the next question is, what type of library services do you have for online students and faculty? You may have all of these, that's fine, or if there's something other than what's there, would love to hear about that. You can put it in the chat of something else that you may be doing. These are just some screenshots from our library's homepage where we have our databases. Something you can't see from this screenshot, but that we added, is we have a tab for textbooks, and the library's been trying to purchase, and with the help of our state library consortium, purchase electronic textbooks. So on that tab, we have a traditional search box, but we also have a link directly to our electronic textbooks. We have a chat service. People can also text us from there. Under our resources tab, we have the LibGuides and some videos and tutorials. But if there's anything else that you do at your library, or that you have ideas about reaching out or having those services virtually, we'd love to hear about that in the chat. Let's see, the poll. Oh, good. Yeah, we're all, everybody's going on the same page. And I do think that we have, as libraries, really gotten ahead of the game with giving virtual service. I know across our campus, when the university had to close and continue virtually, the library really was not that much in a bind like some other departments on campus with moving their services online. We were already doing things virtually. Some embedded librarians. Yeah, we got lucky to have, I say get lucky, it was a lot, not luck, it was a lot of hard work on her part, reaching out to the faculty to get that coveted embedded librarian role. And over this summer, I know we're going to be working to reach out to our faculty, targeting them with that word, embedded librarian, and trying to get us more involved with our faculty's learning management systems. So that leads me right on to the next slide is what Nicholls has is called Moodle. Your university may have Blackboard or Canvas or some other learning management system, but getting the library on Moodle was a big goal of mine when I started. It's where the students are. I find it's easy everything, easy for them to access. They already have to learn it to get to their classes, and I wanted the library to be there and to be visible for everyone, and I just felt like it would get more use if it was within the platform, so that saves them from having to go to another web browser or a tab to find the library's link. So with the pictures here on this slide, the top one is our dashboard, or once you sign into Moodle, there's a direct link for the library there. So I found out after I first started that our university was doing an overhaul on Moodle. The library did not have a link in Moodle prior to this overhaul. So I tried to quickly work and figure out on campus, okay, who's in charge of this? Who can I talk to about getting the library on Moodle? And I was pointed in the right direction, and I was so pleasantly surprised when the new Moodle interface got released and there was a large link to the library right next to the Moodle calendar. I thought that was even just so much better than what I was imagining as just, a little drop-down link. So we were able to do that. So sometimes if you ask, you can receive what you're looking for. The other picture is a social media image that we did recently when the university went virtual because of the pandemic. The university came up with this online learner toolkit, which they put in Moodle, and they assigned it to every student. So every student was in this online learner toolkit, and within that toolkit, different areas across campus were represented, and the library was one of them. And so I was able to get in Moodle our website, contact information, some visual things like videos and tutorials. And one of the things I got in there were these information literacy modules that are from InfoBase and Credo, the InfoLit core. And I'll talk a little bit about that later. But having these things there in their Moodle, we have gotten some use from it, from students discovering it, just having another place online, something virtual to access the library. I just thought that worked out so well that we already had these things in place. I quickly was able to build that into the Moodle for everyone. So moving on to the next part of this is getting some buy-in, having to show value. If anytime you can collect data, I say proof is in the numbers, that's going to be helpful for you because you're going to want to spell it out for the people who are needing to understand why you need these services, how are they being used. When I started here in this librarian role in 2018, there were two things that I wanted to bring to the library. One was a high-tech scanner, and the other were these information literacy modules from Credo that I found during that research I spoke about earlier when I was trying to see what can we do to reach out to our online students. And I came across these modules that are videos, tutorials, and quizzes already built. So that would save me a lot of time because I was wanting to make a library course in Moodle, So while I was researching that content of what should I put into Moodle, how am I going to make these tutorials, this is going to take me so much time. When I came across the information literacy modules by Credo, I just immediately became obsessed with them and went to my library director, spoke about it, explained why I needed them. We're not reaching out to online students that much was one of my pitches, and this is a way that we can do that. Another pitch was explaining how faculty tell us they don't have time to have a library day. So this is a way that we can provide them with these skills outside of their class time, or we could use these within the library as students come to us as we need it. So I really tried to spell out all the details of why I wanted these things and how it could help. The budget was always an issue. We, don't have a lot of money to spend on a lot of different things. So these were two new things that I wanted to bring in that we had to consider. So you have to think about, could you sacrifice some things in order to get what you want? If you can, spell that out for your administration, spell that out for the stakeholders. It does have to be a little give and take. But if you know that it's going to get used, I think saying that over, I hope this will get used, in my mind, made more sense. So thinking about collection development and trying to figure out, do we need any more services or resources? That's all things to consider. When we had to go virtual, I was so validated by our purchase of the InfoLit courses because I use them. I use them as a starting point to even reach out to faculty. I know you, like telling faculty, I know you may be looking for some content online for your classes. Because some of our classes, a lot of them were completely face-to-face and having to go to online instruction. So I was able to give them some tools for them to continue with skills that were important for research online. Oh, that other picture is the scanner. These are two of my babies that I was so proud of being able to get. Here, this is just to show you when you're reaching out and to vendors or you're looking into services or resources for your library, thinking about statistics and how you are going to show the value of these services and resources is important, because that's what ultimately everyone's wanting to know. How are you going to assess this? What's the outcome? How can we eventually prove or show that this has value in retention, in grade point averages, and overall helping our students be more successful? So one thing I really liked about the InfoLit core was it made it easy for me to do that. So when I was in the trial for this resource, I tried to think of everything possible, every way I could use this, and then I tried to track it using their statistics so that I can show administration, show the library director how I was going to use it, what was the feedback from the faculty, and everything was positive. And there was so much that I still want to do, that we just, got this resource last year full time, and there's still so much more that I want to do with it. I've just been in the promotion phase of it a lot right now, and it just makes it very easy to put it into Moodle. The instructors can do assessments, or I can send the assessments to instructor. It creates the visual. So easy and visual is fit in with my motto of how to reach out to faculty. And it also helped me with coming up with ideas for using all of our digital resources. This is a screenshot of one of the Credo InfoLit modules of how I have it embedded into some LibGuides. So I do make it discoverable, but I found that faculty outreach has been the best way to promote our digital resources. But if you can stick links to your resources into guides, then that makes it helpful too. So like the test prep, if you have any online test prep materials, put them in a guide if you have it, like say for nursing, but any test prep for nursing, go put a direct link to that guide in your nursing guide. Because yes, it's discoverable through your catalog or through your discovery databases, but I found that being able to have them in a LibGuide and sending the link to the LibGuide has been easy for faculty outreach. I use our digital resources in one-shots when time allows for it. I always get with the instructor and find out what their goals are, and then I take those goals and figure out what library resources fit with those goals. And so I use them in one-shots. When we went virtual, the librarians had one-shots on their calendar, so we had to transition and do that remotely. We used Google Hangouts, Zoom primarily to do that. For those courses that decided not to meet over a video conferencing system, they were just posting everything in Moodle. What I did for that class was that I made a LibGuide just for that class with everything I was going to do in person. I put it in a LibGuide, and then I made an agenda, like a checklist for the students, so that it could walk them through the guide as if I was walking them through the guide. So I thought that was an idea that went off well with the instructor. Your digital resources, use them as point of need. Faculty have reached out to me saying, my students are struggling with APA citations. What do you have that, we can use to help us teach them APA citations? So anytime you can present your faculty with a digital resource, try to do that. We also do have the print, citation manuals here, which I did let them know that. But my first things were to give them direct links to the digital resources. Some more ideas is if your institution doesn't have an online toolkit, such as Nicholls made recently, something that I was already in the works, I was making before the pandemic, was to make a library class on Moodle. And it's still a work in progress because, some of our things shifted. I ended up putting a lot of stuff on that online toolkit that I'm going to put in the library course. Creating things online, package deals, think about what would you do in a one-shot and try to create a little virtual package on that. And for me, I think one of the easiest ways is on Moodle, our learning management system. If your institution has something like our Nicholls Online, where it's a virtual school, promote to them. Awareness of the library resources is a huge deal. Workshops, I've given workshops on the library's digital resources and how they can help faculty meet their learning objectives. That's just one example of one of the workshops I did. So if you don't already know, see if your institution has faculty workshops. Do they have something for professional development that faculty can go to, and see if you can get on the schedule to do a library workshop for your faculty. Unplanned library days. This is something I've reached out to our faculty about is, sometimes they have to cancel class. A good alternative to canceling class could be to reach out to the library or to do something with the library's digital resources. You know, search through the databases and find an article relevant to something that has to do with your class, or choose one of these information literacy modules to have your class go through. Or I could do a library class. Right now we're not doing face-to-face, but we have some librarians that have done virtual classes. And anytime faculty would ask a librarian for a class, but they didn't have a specific goal in mind, sometimes faculty would say, we need to have a library day, can you tell them about the library? So I would usually start with our digital resources, our databases, how to search them, and do something with the information literacy modules. But promotion is key. Got to promote your resources, and I like to think I'm never over promoting them. I'm a very forgetful person, so I just go with the idea that everyone's forgetful like me. Everyone gets busy, so they need reminders, whether that's gentle reminders through emails, or if you happen to run into someone mentioning a library resource. So a lot of vendors make it easy for you and have promotional kits and toolkits available where you can download graphics. This is just an example from Credo, and there's a JSTOR graphic there. If your library has social media, promote on social media as much as you can to get usage out of your digital resources. You'll be surprised. So if you haven't taken a look at some of your vendors' websites, they may even have LibGuides that have promotional materials for you. I found coloring sheets on JSTOR that I've passed out when we were, here at the library for finals week. So that's just an idea, something to take a look at that you can get some free promotion. Social media is a big way to promote your digital resources and to increase your usage. For us, what's easy is that we have to create a team of people. But even if it's just one person, if it's just you promoting your things, social media can be a great tool for you. Try to make things easy and visual. Give direct links when possible. With a new librarian that we have now, we're taking advantage of his video making skills, and now we have a YouTube channel. So that's an idea. Promote your digital resources on a YouTube channel because those links are easy to share on social media. So these are just some social media tips. And I'm noticing the time, so please put questions if you need to maybe go through this last part a little quicker. This is just an example of one of the slides I had at the faculty workshop where I was talking about one of our digital resources, the Credo Instruct modules. So learning your faculty's needs. This, I pointed out to them, the standards mapping. So that's something that's big for faculty. That's what they're looking for. How's what you have related to my learning goals, and how is it going to help me with assessment? And since Credo had that, that was something I made sure to point out to them. So if you're ever talking with faculty, using the faculty lingo is very helpful. These are the learning objectives. These are how you can use this to help you with your assessment. These are some of the strategies I've come up with, and some other things. Like the first thing I would start out with is just analyze. What does your library have? What is the need of your users? And what can we provide for them? And what's missing? Try to see if you have any gaps in your resources or anything that's out of date. What do you need to provide? Make a plan to obtain these resources and promote the resources. You may need to create flyers and graphics. Go to the vendor's website. They may already have flyers and graphics that you can use for faculty outreach. And targeted outreach. That's something that's important, and I think that's helped with success. If you don't know what your faculty is teaching, that's a good starting point for reaching out to them as a librarian, that you're interested in their learning objectives for their class, and then you can tie that to a direct resource. And just, keeping it simple and following up with them. If you have a resource that you feel really needs to get promoted, think about how easy it is for faculty and students to reach that resource. One thing we did here with the Credo Instruct or the InfoLit modules is we put a direct link to it in our faculty portal, and that's what I'm showing you here with this image. Right on our home page, I made a guide for the faculty with resources from Credo in the faculty portal, and we put it on our home page so it's easy for them to find. And that sort of came from one of the workshops I did, faculty requesting, how can I get to that? If I want to use it, do I always have to contact you? Again, with them thinking they're bothering me. But I listened, and I was realizing they do need an easier way to get to that resource, and so we added it to our homepage, trying to make things simple. And this, I went too far. This is for Miss Henrietta. We'll need to send it over to her.
All right, thank you, Brandy. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, we had some tech issues earlier. So my name is Henrietta Verma, and I'm the Customer Success Manager at Credo. And I just wanted to quickly introduce some free resources that we have before getting on to the Q&A part, where you can ask some questions of Brandy. Don't forget to get started adding your questions to the Q&A box there. So we have marketing materials. Like Brandy mentioned, some vendors have free materials on their website that can help you get the word out. We have those. So they're at that URL that you see there, credoinfolit.zendesk.com. And there you'll find a lot of stuff. Some of it is for people who are Credo customers, and it's technical information for them. But there's also material that anyone can use to get the word out about their resources in their library, whether they're Credo resources or not. So, for example, we have an FYE guide, which is a lengthy kind of white paper guide by a librarian called Ray Pond, who used to be an FYE librarian in the California State University system. And he has in there all kinds of advice on how to conduct the library portion of an FYE program. There's games in there, lesson plans, all that kind of thing. We also have what's called a step guide, which is by another librarian whose name just escapes me right now, but it is librarian written, and the step guide is for the second year. So we had heard from customers that lots of people have FYE programs, but then students are kind of dropped off a cliff when they get to sophomore year. There's not as much help. So the step guide is to get your libraries going on helping sophomore students in a more planned way. And then we have what's called the IL handbook. That's by me. I'm a librarian as well. And it covers how to plan an information literacy program if you don't already have one, or how to assess and improve a program that's already running. And there at that site, you'll also find flyers and that kind of thing that Brandy mentioned, and a PowerPoint presentation that you could use to introduce Credo material to your faculty, if you have a faculty there, like she was saying. There's also a LibGuide there that lists our material and that you can use. You can see an image of the LibGuide there. It's for faculty, and it is meant to introduce faculty to why information literacy is important, and here's what Credo has for you, kind of thing. So let's move on to the Q&A. I tried to keep it pretty quick there, but you have our URL for more information.
All right, thank you, Etta. This is Mark from ACRLN Choice. I'm looking at the Q&A here, and we have lots of questions that have come in all throughout the presentation. As we mentioned at the beginning of the seminar, we'll take just a few minutes here to answer a few of those questions. And unfortunately, I doubt we will have time to get to everyone's questions. So thank you for sending those in. We'll get to. I'll stop talking, and we'll get to as many as we can here. So let's see. In the Q&A, we've got lots of comments. Let's see.
Yes, I was wondering, Mark, how you wanted to go with deciding like where the questions of the outreach coordinator. That would be anyone tasked with marketing your library, whether digitally or in person. Sorry, I didn't see that before the poll went out. Let's see.
Yeah, so we have a question here from Lynn, which sort of which is sort of a very general question, but maybe will give us a place to get started. Lynn says that their instruction librarian position is going to be eliminated in June of 2021, and they just heard about it, and the remaining librarians are going to have to somehow pick up, all the pieces of what that person was doing in a situation like that. Do you have any suggestions for things that maybe people could add on to what they're already doing that are maybe not, incredibly labor intensive, that maybe you could add on to an existing position, or just one or two things that you could add on to do some outreach for folks?
Something that popped in my head right when I was reading that was, I'm so sorry about that. But if your person is still there, if your instruction librarian, before they leave, try to get as much as possible in a shared Google Drive if you're using Google Drive. Something that all of your librarians can have access to, some ready-made instruction, anything that has been done in the past. Finding something that is like the Credo Instruct, the Info Lit module, something that's already built for you will be helpful with trying to do a lot of outreach with a little bit of people. That was another reason I wanted to get a sort of library instruction virtually, was because there's not enough of us to go teach all of the classes that we want to or need to. So we needed a way that we can give library to the faculty virtually that they can do on their own. Yeah, that if there's any way you guys can start videoing some mini tutorials that can be sent to faculty, like a little mini tutorial, because you may, you're not going to have time to do a lot of face-to-face, or now with the pandemic, you may not be allowed to do face-to-face. So having a little mini tutorial that you could send to faculty that are videos of you showing and demonstrating library resources, that might help. And then you can put all of these videos on your library's website as well in a guide.
Excellent. Yeah,
so
that's very
worried about too many emails to faculty. Yes, yes. We start with one. Well, everyone may be doing it a little differently. I know something that I've done, and our current research and instructional librarians coming from a background from being an English teacher at a university. So I've picked his brain too, like how overwhelming are these emails. So I think if they are targeted and not overwhelmingly long, it's not going to be too many. You're not going to be sending daily emails anyway, but if you have something you need to send out to your faculty, don't worry about it being too many emails. Like, you need to get it out to them. Whether they read it or not, like, it's in their hands, but you're putting it out there. I wouldn't send too many lengthy emails all throughout the semester, but a few sprinkled throughout the semester that are more meaningful and targeted emails. I think that would be fine.
Great. And we've had a question that just came in from Haley that I think is an interesting one. And something that you touched on a little bit earlier in the presentation, I think, and Haley asked, do you conduct any assessment of your outreach efforts to analyze which methods are most effective? So could you talk a little bit about that, about how you assess your outreach efforts?
Right. This is still a work in progress. All of the librarians here are new to Nicholls since 2018. So a lot of what we've been doing right now is promoting, trying to track our usage. But as far as assessing things, we are currently working on it. If you haven't heard of Project Outcome, go look that up, because this is something that we tried out this spring, but of course our spring spring was supposed to be our pilot semester. We'll have to kind of reassess that, but Project Outcome has pre-made surveys that will give you very good assessment data, and that is what we're planning to use for our different outreach, because you can print out a paper survey, but you also can get a link that you can send out. So that's our plan. That's what we're going to use to assess our outreach. It's called Project Outcome. Project Outcome,
yeah. And as part of ACRL, I will say, yeah, I would second that. Go use Project Outcome. So, all right. It's looking like we've gone just a little bit over, actually, and I would just take a minute to say thank you, Brandy, for taking the time to present to us today, and for all of the information that you've shared, and to you, Etta, for sticking with us through all of the technical difficulties, and taking a little time to present as well. We really appreciate it. I would just mention to all the folks out there listening in that we did record the presentation, so you should get a link to that recording within about 24 hours. And you should also see a link to take a quick survey to let us know how we did, and what you thought of the presentation today. If there was anything that we can do to improve, we're always looking for your input. So please do take just 3 or 4 minutes to go through that 6-question survey and respond to this webinar a little bit. All of your comments help us improve these things every time. So with that, I would just say thank you to all of you out there for listening in today and for participating in the webinar. We appreciate your time, and we hope to see you again in the near future. Thanks very much, and bye-bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, bye.